intellectual who is dedicated for interdisciplinary experience. I request you, sir. ठीक अच्छे
guest was welcome.
Prabhu sir, you are there?
I am here. I am here.
No, no, actually, one of my colleagues saw it.
Okay.
Hello, Prabhu sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. True scholarship begins with the passion, purpose, and perseverance. Dr. Yuce is a professor at Cappadocia University, Turkey, whose academic journey reflects a profound commitment to learning and research. We are eagerly waiting to hear because of the lack of time. Without highlighting more of the profile, I love to welcome such a dedicated man with an interdisciplinary experience. I request you, sir, to kindly take the podium for the keynote speaking.
Ali sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, Professor.
you please go ahead with your session, please.
Okay. Okay. Then okay, let me not share my presentation with you first. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, now it's visible. Make it full screen. Yeah, perfectly. Okay.
Okay. Before I begin, I want to say that good morning from Turkey, but I know that it is, I guess, like by lunchtime, so I can say good afternoon. I hope everybody is fine, everybody is doing great. And what I want to say actually before I read my own notes is, this is really a wonderful opportunity for all of us. And of course, I am more actually proud of being right here now. So when I'm starting, I want to say this. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude or my thankfulness, appreciation to the university leadership and the organizing committee for making this conference possible. In particular, I would like to thank dear Professor Roger Kishore Mishra and the program chair Manas Ranjan Kata. I hope that I do not I pronounce your name right. I would like to thank total winter for this great conference. I'm also aware that it has been a long day for all of you, so that I would like to be concise and respectful for your time, so that I do not delay you any further before you well-deserved lunch and break. I know that you guys are feeling hungry and thirsty. You want to go and have some lunch. So let's begin now. The topic of my presentation is the role of emerging technologies, right? And variable system on soldier and society well-being. I guess I can just minimize this right there. Okay. So what I'm going to cover today is we will be talking about mostly sustainability and survival. And I will always, whenever I make a presentation, actually, whenever I am working on a project or an article, a scientific article, I always like to go back. I want to see that how people in Paleolithic age used to do this, or Neolithic age, so that I can have a broader perspective to determine exactly why we are challenging, why we are facing so many different challenges in our days. So we will be also talking about digital era, not too much, because I am sure that throughout this conference, many people, all of you or most of the participants have already thought how great progress we are having in our era right now. What about the deterrence through protection? Okay, we always have, we are actually beyond the technology as we will see later on. Just to actually control the others or control somebody else's, maybe that. So we will be talking about how technology can be used as a deterrence mechanism. And then what about the ethical challenges of wearable and data-driven human technologies? And some of those technologies, as you sure that it continues. And then historically, however, the survival impulse has often been interpreted in ways that justify destruction of others. From the content perspective, I want to say one more thing though. It encourages us to reflect on whether technology serves the soldier or whether the soldier is increasingly expected to serve the technology. Okay. What about the Speranza? Baruch Speranza. He has one very essential, very impactful, very profound word. It is called commodities. What does it mean? It means that each thing, as far as it can buy, it's its own power starts to preserve in its being. It means that, we will see it later on, but I want to say it right now. We are actually living to make sure that right after we came to become the world, we are trying to protect ourselves. That's the major actually goal, right? Or major algorithm. That's how that algorithm is. But at the same time, we are saying that we make sure that our well-being is going on. How? With our own basic instincts. What about the host? It says fear, security, and the need of protection we need, or we have. That's how we have been born. But there's a paradox. Paradoxically, history shows that survival has often been pursued through destruction. Yeah, to be able to survive, make sure that no threat is around me, right? So, let me move. When we look at over here, when we look at this slide, of course, this slide is from the Eurocentric approach. According to the Eurocentric approach of this language, the first, this is how we have been taught at school, right? Even at universities, at master's level or PhD level. Industrial revolution began with steam power, machine, right? To me and to several of my great professors, for us, Neolithic, from Neolithic age, the Neolithic age is actually one of the most profound revelations that we have, that human beings ever had. Why? Eurocentric industrial revolution. But especially right now, when we have the AI, right, artificial intelligence-based or quantum technology, we are thinking that, okay, it is the greatest turning point of our history. However, this framing overlooks a far more fundamental transformation. To me, it was the Neolithic age that constituted the first and most decisive revelation as it reshaped every dimension of human life, from social, economic, political, cultural, and ethical perspective. All these things are really fundamentally altering how people live, produce, believe, and relate to another, or one another. But before the age, how they used to live, how people used to live, as you know that, of course, humans live as hunter-gatherers, right? Just like the Maslow's needs of hierarchy. They wanted to make sure that they have food, water, and shelter. There was no permanent property, no fixed houses, and no strong idea of ownership of property. I will mention about that in a second. Social structures were relatively small, flexible, and of course, mostly egalitarian. Survival depends on cooperation rather than accumulation. seasons, fertility, and survival. Family structures existed, but they were fluid. They were not like, the days we are living in our days. Often based on immediate survival needs rather than long-term inheritance. In other words, they didn't have land, they didn't own the land, they were just actually fulfilling their basic needs. So that they didn't have land, there was nothing like over it. People tend to desire, look at now, people tend to desire what they do not have. And once they acquire it, they often enter into conflict to protect it. In other words, before Nordic age, they didn't have nothing, they didn't have fight, they didn't have anything to fight over it, but now they have property, they have land, they have son, they have family, and now they have to acquire it, they have to completely protect it. Because of land ownership, status, property trigger competition that result in territorial identity. And if they didn't have anything to fight with others, they were fighting or they were trying to control within their own small community. Fear of loss, as a driver of aggression, lead and insecurity, war as structured outcome, it was not an accident. It was not. Technology was originally designed to manage risk, not to maximize destruction. What does the technology mean? According to the meaning, it means that craftsmanship. In other words, mastery. You produce something that really helps individual, that really actually eases the life, or that really influences your attitude, that really changes your perspective, that moves you. So, when we talk about the protection, military, or security stuff, then we're gonna say this: the answer lies not in technology itself, but in property and life. Once land became owned, it also became something that could be lost. Right? Property ownership created status, identity, and hierarchy, but it also generated fear of loss, invasion, and decline. As competition, because you have this much land, and we have bigger land. Now the daughters will really need to take more land, maybe from me, right? So it always fear. As competition over land intensified, communities began to define themselves territorially, distinguishing us from them. Internal power structures evolved in external conflicts. And technology increasingly became a tool to secure advantage. In this sense, war did not emerge as an accident of history, right? I just said that earlier, but as a structural outcome of insecurity, greed, and desire to preserve the power. Military life, or just to say, I have war, because it became a response to fear as much as to ambition. Survival and sustainability. I'm just actually trying to explain the basic points of my slide. As I said earlier, in the beginning, we are running out of time, so I make sure that I just will give what are I just think the important points of my slide. But technology, and logic, right? Logos. There are two terms of that. Hikmet and logos. Logic, we say logic, not logic, but logos. It means logos. Logos means responsibility, or using the mastery item product in a responsible way. It is a systematic knowledge of how to apply human mastery to manage risk and risk prevention, preserve life. If we return to the original meaning of technology, we see that technology was never primarily about destruction. Technology refers to human skill and mastery, the capacity to manage risk and uncertainty. Early technologies, including military ones, were largely defensive. Shields, armor, and protective systems designed to preserve life. As threats or evil, technology expanded from protection to mobility. Chaos, for example, were not only defensive tools, they enhance speed, coordination, and survival. They enable soldiers to avoid direct exposure and reduce vulnerability. Another important example is, as you remember, as you all know, like Trojan horse, Trojan war, like in Anatolia here. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a product of technique guided by locals. Preparation combined with strategic reasoning. It demonstrates that technological mastery in warfare was often about intelligence, perception, and minimizing direct confrontation rather than brute force. What about the Keynote war? The whole history says that it was the first written war treaty, right? This battle can be measured symbolically as well. It illustrates how mobility, coordination, and technological advantage were perceived as decisive for survival and power rather than total annihilation. The historical perspective reminds us that technology originally emerged to protect human life and manage risk, as we said earlier. The ethical challenge today is whether modern defense technologies still serve this original purpose or whether they have shifted toward maximizing the unfortunate destruction. Okay. Now, there is one important question here. What is the real purpose of defense technology? Right? Defense technology. What is the major purpose? Why we have been developing this? Why we are admired for each ground when they close or when they do? The future of defense will not be defined by how much we can destroy, but by how effectively we can protect. This is the message I really wanted to convey. Evolving defense technology must prioritize soldier protection as a foundation for terrorist and well-being. Survivability as strategic advantage, which is protection as deterrence, well-being as protection sustainability. If survival is the fundamental driver of human existence, then defense technologies must evolve to protect the human body rather than merely extend its capacity. Right? It should go on. And what about the next one? If this moves. In the industrial revolution transform, we must look at economical values always, right? When we talk about inflation, they always come up with how all those statistical numbers or digits are important for the companies or local people, local communities, etc. Same thing is happening with this, actually, industry. The industrial revolutions transform not only economies, but actually war itself, or warfare itself. First, it introduces scale, efficiency, and mechanization. But when we talk about this efficiency became Fractionalized replaced craftsmanship, speed, volume, and standardization became actually essential and centralized. It was a structural transformation. Why? Because distraction was no longer limited by time, space, or proximity any longer. It became scalable, repeatable, and of course industrial. So we can be the last thing over here says that industrial revolutions did not invent war, okay, but they industrialized it. So it became the major enemy, major tool, right, for economical actually welfare. So there is a paradox here. There's actually several paradox here. We have to okay, we always create something. We always, bring up or develop a new thing, which is faster or better or more scale. But we are using it actually based on mostly to decide the domain. So we innovate to survive execution, right? That was always at the foundation of technological progress. But in nowadays, in our days, in our era, yet historically survival has often been pursued through innovation. But technology is great for protection, but it can be used also as destructive destruction. Today, we stand at another turning point. A digital revolution delivered by artificial intelligence. Intelligent systems and wearable technologies. The question is simple, but exactly significant. Will we industrialize destruction once again, or will we recenter progression? Please do not forget that I talked about in the beginning of our presentation, I mentioned about the existence, right? Why we are trying to protect our own well-being right after we come to work. So it means that this industrial destruction must again or will be a recent protection. Will we continue to protect, or will we be able to actually survive in this highly actually destructive or highly, there is a mentality, right? Destructive mentality. So this is really the point of that idea or mentality. This is not only a strategic question, it is an ethical one. An ethical dilemma lies in determining whether security can be achieved without enforcing cycles of escalation. The first paradox is that stronger systems can either stabilize, peace, or intensify conflict. Technology itself is neutral, but it is our intention, our design choices, our governance, and our values that determine whether technology protects life or amplifies destruction. Despite this is actually I edited at the very last minute. I want to read this. Despite centuries of civilization, see, whenever we talk someone, we are always talking about this. See, life is actually not easier, better, bigger, more comfortable. But now we have a comfort zone, and that comfort zone is much better than the previous one. But here's the question, right? That why we need power in order to provide or carry out our existence. We are living through one of the most transformative technological revolutions in the history of defense. Intelligent systems, variable technologies, and artificial intelligence. There are so many other are reshaping operational capabilities in unprecedented ways. Yet, alongside with this excitement, we must pause and ask deeper questions about purpose and direction. For the first time in modern defense system, technology is being placed direct on the human body. Human body. If you look at pictures, previous coming slides, you will see that is it a human being or a robot? Not present. It is lethality, but it has this. Wearable technologies, as turning point, wearable technologies, there is a significant shift in defense thinking from stability to preservation. Instead of viewing soldiers as replaceable units, these systems focus on protecting and sustaining the individual. Through psychological monitoring, wearable devices track heart rate, fatigue, hydration, stress levels, and injury risk, allowing early intervention before combat. Situational awareness. Tools for situational awareness tools and integrated decision support system reduce uncertainty and cognitive overload, helping soldiers feel safer and more informed decisions. By preventing fatigue, stress, and injury, these technologies function not merely as enhancements, but as life-preserving systems and as risk reduction mechanisms. Thus, wearable technologies become sustainability tools within defense structures, supporting long-term resilience rather than short-term output. The next revolution in defense may therefore not be about feeling better, but about surviving better. Okay, right here. Human-centered defense shifts the focus from system to people. In older ages, defense structures were often built around territory, weapons, and power projections, while individual soldiers were seen by memory as a means to an end. Today, resilience becomes central, not only the resilience of systems, but the physical and psychological resilience of human beings operating in the realm. Longevity also becomes a strategic object. A sustainable defense model must preserve the long-term well-being of those who serve, rather than pursuing them in short-term objectives. Human-centered defense therefore reframes sleep not as domination, but as imperious adaptability and protection of human dignity within military structure. Wearable technologies can also function as deterrence tools. Visibility increases awareness, both for the soldier and for potential adversaries. When capabilities are transparent and integrated, uncertainty is reduced. Preparedness. Preparedness becomes visible readiness. It signals that forces are alert, informed, and capable of responding effectively. Prevention then becomes possible because deterrence works best when potential aggression is discouraged before conflict begins. A protected and technologically supported software represents resilience and readiness. is a question, of course, it is beyond the scope of this presentation, but sustainability has been designated, has been overused without actually understanding on this, without understanding the real meaning of it. So, for this, I'm not going to discuss that. Sustainability in defense is not only about maintaining systems, it is about long-term consequences. Every technology you develop has effects that go beyond immediate security. We must ask this. What will be the impact in 10, 20, 50, 100, because the things we own right now is not belong to us. They have actually inherited to us. And we have to really make sure that that's following human beings, or I'm not going to say only human beings, only human beings. So, without clear rules and accountability, technology can easily exceed ethical boundaries. Ethical sustainability means aligning innovation with moral responsibility. Technological responsibility means designing systems that protect both present and future generations and living things. Future readiness is the context of wearable technologies, and sustainability is not about adding more devices to the source. It is about designing systems that genuinely, right, in a sophisticated way, protect human beings over time. Psychological resilience means continuously monitoring health, fatigue, and stress, so that protection is proactive rather than reactive. Data governance becomes essential because once the body becomes a data source, clear ownership and ethical boundaries must be defined. Energy sustainability also matters. Wearable system must be efficient and durable without creating additional physical burden. They already got too much burden. Psychological protection is equally important, ensuring the monitoring does not turn into constant service. Given artificial intelligence balance must be preserved so that artificial intelligence supports decisions but never replaces human judgment. Finally, long-term well-being training reminds us that readiness is not only about mission success today, but about preserving the soldiers' physical and mental health across an entire lifetime. Conclusion. A truly sustainable defense future is one in which technology amplifies human moral agency, ensuring that power holds to wisdom, innovation answers to responsibility, and destiny remains a human choice rather than a technological consequence. Let me please look at the image. As civilization and technology advance, our instincts and increase, it will all then make sense. In this sense, sustainable defense begins with inner governance before actually allowing external forces to control the whole system. This is all what I want to say, but as I am concluding, I want to just say a few more things with your permission. I will take a few more minutes, I'm so sorry. Okay, dear distinguished colleagues, as I reach the end of my presentation, I want to say that innovation is inevitable. It has tremendous advantages, no doubt about it. But its direction is a choice. Throughout history, technology has mirrored human instinct, fear, and ambition. Today, as defense technologies become more intelligent and more integrated into the human body, we face a profound moral decision. innovation serve domination or will it serve preservation? If soldiers are human beings rather than expendable assets, then defense must remain human-centered. Real strength lies not in expanding destruction, but in protecting life, dignity, and long-term stability. The future of defense depends on rapidly aligned technology with responsibility, resilience, and sustainability. And ultimately, change is possible because human beings are rational and capable of stepping out destructive cycles when they consciously choose reason over impulse. As I conclude my presentation, I would like to once again express my sincere appreciation to this university and Army Defense College for their dedication and commitment in organizing such a beautiful conference. Bringing together academic scholarship, and defense experts in this manner is both timely and profoundly meaningful. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to distinguished academicians, respected officers, students, and all participants for their attentive presence and thoughtful engagement. It has been really a truly honor and honor to share this reflection with you. And of course, I am, as you see, very excited. I should also add that. Daha yapmak, teşekkür ederim, and thank you. I don't know if there's any question or if there's any comment. I am right here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was really a thing of pleasure for the whole NIST University and Air Army Defense College that today getting you as a keynote speaker for the second international conference ICADS-26. Thank you, sir. Rightly said, sir. We innovate to survive, yet we destroy to dominate. Beautifully, you have the combination of sustainable digitalization is the solution for the current generation. Thank you for your precious time, and thank you a lot, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, all the keynote speakers, distinguished guests.